Welcome once again to Syntax Error, your pretentious philosophical pedantic podcast ostensibly about video gaming and related topics therein. Warning, this podcast contains mature language, content, and spoilers. You have been warned. Welcome back to Syntax Error. Tonight, here representing the faction of the Minutemen, Jonathan Manzer.
That was a lovely introduction. I'm going to mark on your map another person to introduce.
Thank you. And yes, my next quest is to introduce, representing the Railroad, Christopher Morgan.
Hello.
And representing the Brotherhood of Steel, Stephen Amosi.
Crawling out through the Fallout, that's me.
And I, of course, represent the Institute, Scott Thurlow, as always. And you are now joining us for our final thoughts. So we were debating what to call this episode, but I'm going to call it Flawout, if you will. The narrative flaws in Fallout 4. We specifically focusing on the many holes, or the numerous holes, I guess I'll say, of how this game maybe fell flat narrative in their plot, we'll say. So let's lead off. Preston Garvey, what are your opening thoughts on this?
I'm going to admit that I have yet to finish the game because I'm still in Sanctuary building stuff.
Yeah, you're stuck in community service loophole.
No, I become the Massachusetts comptroller.
Sure.
Organizing river cleanups and...
no time for quests. Gotta clean up the river.
Yeah.
Sure, which is really funny, and yeah, that's kind of one of my big gripes. What do you think, Chris?
I too have not completely finished the game. I didn't realize how actually complicated the ending was, and reading ahead to figure out, try to finish the game for tonight. And as we discussed with Scott earlier, it doesn't really fucking matter, does it?
That's true. So, quick backstory, listeners. Chris was like, listen, I'm trying to finish it to get into this episode. I was like, don't worry about it. You don't have to, because it hardly matters, and I'll tell you why soon enough. So where'd you leave off, actually?
Not work with
What was the last quest that you were given?
I was given, I finished Institutionalized, but I didn't get the next quest from Sean.
Okay.
Because I wanted to go back and give...
Wait, the quest from Sean? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Father.
Father, yes.
We'll Father. I went back to give, holy shit, what's his name in,
the holotape?
The holotape, yeah, with, all their evil doings to, the guy in, Sturgis in, Sanctuary Hills. Yep. But I do plan to, I read ahead, and I do plan to, go on the next mission for Father, and then when he gives me the next mission, I am going to betray him, and then I am going to attack the
All right. Very loyal of you.
Got it all planned out, don't you?
Yeah.
Steve, what did you do?
Well, I finished the game. I sided with the Minutemen. Or, I'm sorry, the Railroad.
The Railroad. Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a letdown.
Was it mediocre?
It was mediocre. It's just, the game doesn't really ever... The main quest, I'll say. The side quests are great, as all Fallout games are.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but agreed, for sure. Go on.
But the main quest didn't really ever capture... I'd never cared about Sean, my son. And that's because you have no history with him. You have no backstory. And we're going to talk about this, I'm sure, as well. But I think it's a good point to bring up early so that we can go back to it later.
Yep.
That the reason that Fallout 3 worked was because you had a backstory with your father. In this, you have no backstory with your son, who is an infant.
No, wrong. I had one cutscene, so therefore I'm totally invested, dude.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, and here's an infant and can provide no feedback.
The entire idea is that just because he's your son, you're supposed to care about him, and they don't give you any reason to.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I had my wife, who I love very much. I have Codsworth. I had my son. It was a great opening. Yeah,
Codsworth has more characterization than both Sean and your spouse.
But now I have Piper back in Diamond City. I got
sure.
Kate in Sanctuary. I'm helping her get over her addiction. I got stuff to do as I rebuild my new life. And I have to worry about I don't have to deal with this child drama. Baby mama's dead.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
It took hundreds of years to get over the death of my son, but now that I finally accept that he's dead, that's when I learned that he's still alive.
He's completely gone.
I don't care.
At the beginning of the game, once I realized, I'm looking for my son. I've got to start a new life here. I went to Goodfellow, and I was talking to the singer, and it's just like flirt more than date. And so I'm like, all right, I'll go on a date with
you
her.
went to, not Goodfellow. You mean the bar in
Good Neighbor.
Good Neighbor.
Sorry, did I say Goodfellow?
Yeah.
All right, no.
Do quickly. I think Goodfellow was a place in Vegas, so specifically, go on.
Okay.
Yes. Good Neighbor.
I went to Good Neighbor, and I had a quote-unquote date with the singer, which meant that I slept with her. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's just like, hey, I don't want a commitment. And I'm like, oh, perfect.
So Fallout follows prostitute rules?
Yeah,
where
kind of.
If you have a date with somebody, that means you bang them? Like, Is that?
Yeah, it's
I guess so. It's like the
Right,
top
it's like a
rules
quote-unquote
from the league.
the instance Chris is speaking about is definitely implied that to be the case for sure.
When she gets out of bed. Of course, you're both fully dressed. This isn't Witcher or anything where we can.
Exactly. There's no full on
God of War
sits or anything. But no, like to bring it back to the main point, right? So as you guys just said, I also completely didn't care about Sean, and completely forgot about that as like the quest line. So you're right. So as Steve was saying, they want you to be invested. Oh, you have a child, and the ostensibly the big mystery is go track down your child. But there's so many much more interesting side quests, and also was not enough initially there to have you invested in it in any way.
But the funny thing is, and maybe this is me being married and all that stuff, but when I saw my wife get killed, I was more upset about that, like as
Sure.
Ian pointed out, that I was about the son. So it's just like my wife said, and I carry both rings around. My character carries both rings around.
Yeah, I
Same
did that
thing.
the whole game as well.
And the thing is, it's like I didn't like sleep with the singer
I shouldn't even
right
notice
away.
that, but it's cool that they had
It's about
that.
a month in game time or whatever, and I'm kind of like, well, this is my new life, and I figured, all right, it was kind
This
of
is my life now.
It just kind of happened. I didn't know,
No, I attempted in our initial discussion about this. I had mentioned that I attempted to create the woman from Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Claire.
My baby.
Yeah, because I felt that in the natural aspect,
that would have made narrative sense.
I would
yes.
have to, but it's so. I had a difficult time ditching out on all the side quests to go straight to the main quest. Like if I'm playing if I'm not metagaming here, if I'm just following the narrative that the game sets out, it's very difficult to like just do this quest straight.
I think
Yeah,
I think the
exactly.
better RPG way to go about this game is to make it about you trying to get over the loss of your kid and like coming to terms with that, as opposed to trying to go and
Track
save
him down.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I agree. Like this thing, like I don't know how to describe it. Like I guess flat is how I would say it.
Yeah, if you're gonna RP
They want you to set it up that way. And you're right. Like that's really funny, Chris, that you said probably should have more investment in your dead spouse because at least he or she had more characterization than your actual kid did, regardless of what you chose to play your character as.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, if they had made this a revenge game where you're trying to avenge your dead wife or husband, as the case may be, I think it would have been a lot
It
stronger.
would have been more compelling.
I think it would have been a lot more compelling.
Oh,
I
without
totally
question.
agree. And
if
again,
you're trying to track down the people that killed, if they just got rid of the baby angle altogether
Yeah,
and made it about avenging the, your,
allow me
your
to
dead
speak
spouse.
about that. I agree with that largely, like a lot, because how many times have you seen a revenge plot in the game? Like many of them. But it was a good setup to do that,
Right.
and also yes, I'm a monster. I don't care about kids. I would never have cared, and the game didn't even like make me want to care about it.
Here's the issue with that, and in general with the RPGs, is that you have kind of two ways. You can either have an incredibly linear story, which you're telling an emotional narrative, or you can have an open. Like for instance, actually, the great thing is Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Because Fallout 3 dealt with linear narrative. Yeah, you can go off and do things, but generally there was a progression to it.
It still was sort of like tied together.
And narrower in scope than what Fallout 4, like the open world that they created. Or you have New Vegas, which you're basically just a blank slate to put your own personality on.
Yeah.
You can't do both. That's what you're going to say,
And
right?
that's what they tried to do. They tried to,
exactly.
and the thing is, you want to have this emotionally gripped story about your wife dying and your child being abducted, but then you can't have me go off and be ordered by Preston Garvey every 5 minutes to go help out another.
Well, I mean, my motivation behind that was just like, okay, I'm trying to help create a better world for my son when I do find him. That was part of it. But like to me, putting a child jeopardy is like the LCD of like plot contrivances. It's like automatically, if you want to rook the audiences,
of course,
you either tell a love story or put a child in danger story because that's just such a fucking trope. But I was going to say the closest that I saw anybody caring about this was my wife. Because she's like, all right, I'm going to, she's like, what I'm doing is I'm collecting all the baby stuff and blocks and everything.
Yeah, she RP'd like a mother going insane, which is pretty badass. Like, that's really funny.
Yeah, but the thing is, after a while, I'm like, so how's your collecting going? She's like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's
and even
like,
she stopped caring about it, right? That's what you're going to say.
Yeah, she played the nuts mother who's mourning her. She went,
and even
crazy.
that got boring, like RPing that in game.
Yeah,
sure. Like, I guess you have to consider like who you are. I guess as a background, whether or not like how much investment you're going to be. or that they want you to have in it. But even on whatever it is, even if they do like the best job ever, it still falls away pretty fast.
Yeah.
I guess I want to say.
And to what Ian said before about the, you're not going to go on quest for Preston Garvey. There were a few quests like Nick Valentine where you help somebody out who's going to help you, or what they needed to do is going to help you.
Sure.
But the thing is, it's like, if you're really this devoted looking for your father, you're not going to go, or your son, you're not going to go on all these little bullshit quests for people who are,
or at least, again, it makes zero RP sense.
Yeah.
I need to pick up paint for me and paint the wall in Diamond City.
Totally.
You know what? My son can wait. I'm going to go and collect paint for you.
Yeah. So I've been waiting. Like, here's what happened to me, right? About 30% through the game, whatever extent I cared about the Sean setup, if you will, I completely stopped caring about it. And I realized the image in my mind. So, again, real quickly, here's what happened to me during my course of the plot. I found their like obligatory reference to Lovecraft. Found like their little dagger. That was an excellent melee weapon. First of all, like my min-maxing like instincts like prickled up. I was like, sweet, this dagger is awesome. Combined with my sneak perk, I can backstab almost anything to death. So I was like, I'm Captain Willard. Sell the cow, sell the kids, sell my wife. I don't care. Like, I'm never coming back. Like, that's how the plot unfolded to me. And to your point, E, you're right. Like, the side quests, we said this a lot on other episodes, and I think it holds true completely here. The side quests are just so much more interesting, even though they have nothing to do with, like, there's no connection to the main plot at all, or barely, if any. But it's so much more, like, such more fun quest to do.
The best side quest with the best payoff was the one with the robots and the ship on the
it was amazing.
That was
so
my
funny.
favorite quest.
Yeah. And it's really interesting and funny as hell and perfect.
I kind of want to do a quick summation for where this failed on a narrative level, since we've kind of been bouncing around a number of ideas.
Yeah.
So at first you have the use of a child as the
a cheap emotional trick. I'm going to call it
that will hold an attention over the course of a narrative.
Right.
Then you had the split of two open world for what needs. If you're going to use this, you would need to have a tight focused story. And open world, this doesn't really work.
It's at odds with itself. Agreed. Yes.
Was there anything else that we discussed for?
No, I think you're right. Like those are like the big broad points. Like you cannot. Again, I know you hate this phrase, but this is what you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to choose. I think one or the other. You can't like mash them both together and expect it to be like a coherent whole, or at least for the player to be invested like intensely in one. Whereas you can, like, as you said, like you became comptroller. I think you were saying to us of Sanctuary Hills.
But it's, I guess the third would be that, again, this kind of ties into the second one, but offering so much independent development by the player,
means you can, like, forget the plot. It's outright, right?
Or you find another love. Theoretically, you could have a child with Piper in
Sure.
Diamond City and never ever approach, aside from the fact that now it is a plot point that of this narrative. It's kind of a determinism almost, in that you must achieve this ending in order for you to get the credit roll, even though that doesn't make sense to your character at this point.
Yeah. All right. I guess I'll say you can make a complete U-turn in terms of RP character, but of course the plot wants you to keep following this main thread, if you will. But because of the nature of it, that means you can totally forget about it. You could do 5 other side quests or more and be like, oh shit, oh yeah, remember Sean? I guess I'll go find them again.
Oh, I have nothing else to do in this town.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I've gone through all my side quests.
To a side point that Ian just said. Piper's my girlfriend, and my character and his wife decided to have one kid before the war, so my character is a vasectomy, so there'll be no babies with Piper.
I guess, you can staple that
I guess after 200 years, really the vasectomy should still hold.
You don't have to worry about another one of your kids being taken and turned into a sin.
Let's just say one thing, and I know this pretty much goes without saying, that spoilers, because we really have to discuss the quote-unquote Sean twist that I think everybody
it's a super
at this
reveal that I
table
never saw coming at all.
The one thing that did surprise me about Sean was that he was voiced, but the guy who voiced him as Master Braytok in SG-1. We're watching the Stargates now. So that was the surprise for me. I'm like, oh, it's Braytok.
But allow me to address that one, like, that specific point, real quickly. In the couple of previous Bethesda games, it was Patrick Stewart and Liam Neeson.
That's
true.
And
now they got that guy to be Sean, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, it's sort of like on the side, but
we have seen Preston Garvey's voice actor.
Actually, that's true. And he's typecast as well, unfortunately, for that actor.
Well, also,
he does a good job, don't get me wrong.
He talks at you constantly. I can now pick out that voice actor whenever I hear him now. Because he haunts my nightmares.
Yeah, this is a very random aside, but I bought Wasteland 2, I spoke about on a previous episode, and there was a ranger guy in my base it was the same voice actor. So I was like, oh, Preston Garvey, good to see you again in this game. It was just, yeah, you're right. It just like spit at you so much. But all I'm saying is, alright, so that's like the one big point about like the inherent mishandling of the narrative here. And the second thing we'll talk about right now I want to bring up is the endings. Mm-hmm. They were just flat again. So I'll condense it. There were 4 endings. You can choose the Institute, of course, Brotherhood, Minutemen, and Railroad. However, 3 out of the 4 are essentially like almost line for line the same. The only thing that changes in the final cutscene, the final little conversation on the roof, is if you don't side with the Institute, then you nuke the Institute from the inside. Okay, yeah, that's really helpful, A, for the Commonwealth at large. Yeah, you're doing a great job saving the world. And B, the speeches are like pretty much like line swapped, and the only thing that changes is who shows up to speak to you about it. Yeah, and if you side with the Institute, then the Institute does not get nuked, you save them. But, and then the final narration is exactly the same no matter what. It's from your character's voice, so if you choose the male, it's like the voice you've been hearing in dialogue options the whole game, and for female. But it just doesn't change at all.
Yeah.
It might as well, like, pick anyone you want, like, randomly choose them, because they're the same thing anyways. And that's really disappointed me about it.
That's kind of funny, because it's almost diametrically opposed to my biggest problem with Fallout, not on a narrative scale, but on a gameplay-wise.
Okay.
And it goes back to Skyrim with the radial quests. With the fact that, yeah, I understand that the Corvega factory would, if I wiped it out, other raiders would come in or whatever, because, yeah, it's a good defense position.
But now I've cleaned out 10 times or whatever you're going to say,
not
right?
Not only 10 times, but when the Brotherhood show up, oh, there's a vertibird flying overhead. Oh, there's another vertibird flying overhead. Oh, another one.
That's crazy. I've seen that 20 times now.
It kind of ruins the amazingness of the first time that you see a vertibird flying over your head. It's fucking crazy. And then when it keeps happening, you're like, oh, God,
it's no longer special.
That reminds me heavily of Fallout 3, which had the great twist in the middle of it, which the Enclave shows up. And then all of a sudden, the world changes. And this is similar, but
with no repercussions. You feel them like almost not at all.
I will say when the Brotherhood first shows up in Fallout 4, it is a pretty amazing moment.
Yeah, cool. It's a good little set piece, sure. But then what?
But here's the thing is that eventually it feels like nothing you do really changes the way... And that's fine.
War.
Yeah, war never changes. And
sure,
I understand it. But the thing is, I'm playing a video game. I want to feel accomplishment. I want to feel like I'm doing something, and I don't know what the stakes are of this. And none of that, no matter what I do to ebb the tide of war, I can never change. That's great commentary if you want to take it like that, but it doesn't make an exciting gameplay.
Exactly, I agree. Like you can't use that as a backdoor excuse for poor narrative, I guess I want to say. So the third thing I want to say is the motivations of each faction. I guess, let's get into it right now. The Minutemen probably have like the most reasonable motivation. The most, like, maybe you get behind it. Like, you can understand
altruistic.
Yeah, sure, and that's fine. My problem, I guess, the biggest problem I have was the Brotherhood of Steel. In canon, in the Fallout canon, their goal, their mission, credo, if you will, is to preserve and engage, like, get the technology, the best technology, pre-war and right now, like, in present time, in the Fallout world, and preserve it and control it. Use it for their own ends, right? Mm-hmm. Again, in quotes, ostensibly, to better humanity. If they want to do that, but their goal, like, they outright say to you, Brother Maxon, or, what's his name, Father Maxon, whatever, Master Maxon, the head of the Brotherhood of Steel, was like, we have to destroy the synths. As soon as I heard them say that line, I was like, why? Wouldn't you want to control the synths? Wouldn't you want to be the synths? And yes, in case you guys don't know, spoiler, the companion you can have in the Brotherhood of Steel turns out to be a synth. That's kind of a cool little twist. Like, that was a nice little side thing, that if you followed enough quest lines, you figure that out. I'm like, okay, it's pretty good, but it doesn't negate the fact that their motivations make zero sense set against their actual, like, what they set out to be. And also, the Institute is kind of the same way. Fine, okay, you're the best scientist ever, you're the remnant of that, you're descendants of them, you're MIT, essentially. They even call it CIT, right, Commonwealth, blah, blah, blah. Fine, you're hiding away. And your goal is to what? Replace everyone on Earth with a synth, and then what? Like, I guess. Like,
see, they want to control the synths, and they want to exploit the upstairs for their own little community underground.
Yeah, but how does that help them? Is what I'm saying.
But I'm just saying that. Yeah,
step one, replace everyone with Sips. Step two, question mark.
Step one, Wasteland wins. I
yeah,
guess, right?
I mean,
exactly.
because in reality, these guys would probably want to go back up to the surface because the whole time you're down in CIT, they're bitching about how all the energy is antiquated and they have and they're having energy problems. They're having all sorts of resource problems. Why wouldn't they want to use you as? See, this is what Beth and I were talking about before I came here. Is why wouldn't they want to use you as an emissary? Like, why isn't the game being an emissary?
I agree, Chris. That's why I started with the Institute, and
that should have at least been an option.
Yes, agreed.
You can. I feel like they railroad you right into.
They absolutely do.
All four of these factions being completely opposed, and there's no reason why they should be.
Yeah,
that's what I had the biggest problem with.
Exactly.
I was like, look, if I'm
100% agree.
If I'm going to back the Institute, why is the Institute going against? Like, why can't the Institute and the Brotherhood of Steel broker a deal? Like,
right? Or something
that might
like
be a
that.
good idea. Or why can't they try to find peace between the railroad and the Institute?
I want to answer that quickly.
Sure.
Because Bethesda got intimidated by New Vegas's complex
by their
plot,
own hoopers, kind of. Yeah.
And it felt the need to then have 4 endings because that's what New Vegas had.
No, New Vegas had like 18 endings.
Well, it had 4
main choices. You're right. Sorry.
Factions.
Yeah, I know. You're right. I know the point you're making. Go on.
And it felt the need to do that, but it didn't know how to because
I guess
Obsidian is Black Isle. They have
Fallout,
the
if you will.
load of backstory for how to write a good narrative, and they have all the credentials
or at least,
that they need.
To be fair, not necessarily a good narrative, a narrative that makes sense with the world they've already built for themselves.
A complex, nuanced narrative.
Exactly.
Bethesda, for better or worse, is dragons are attacking. We have this
Oblivion
enclave,
gates are opening, etc.
Enclaves happening. We're trying to poison the water to kill everyone. Like, it's kind of doing with they work in James Bond territory with like Bond villains.
Yeah,
and I don't know if they know how to juggle a nuanced narrative.
It seems clear to me at this point. Like,
maybe not.
As much as I love the games, like, all right, if you've noticed, we have not mentioned mechanically anything at all because mechanically the game was really excellent. I can't complain about much. I can't complain about the settlement system, but I'm not going to really. Like, aside from that, we're focusing on narrative, and here's what I'm saying. You're right, E. I agree with that. If it were Vegas-like, you could broker a peace or like some kind of shaky alliance. But no, and you choose 1 out of 4, and it's all like straightforward.
Yeah,
and it still makes the same way. It still makes a lot less sense than it should.
You knew why this faction would never work with this faction.
Yeah,
or like they gave you very good explanation to who
if Preston Garvey
was.
talked to Father, it'd be like the Civil War thing. If Iron Man and Captain America just sat down and talked, then maybe we could have a good system here. But they just like forcibly are not going to allow that, and that makes like you can look at the cracks in the narrative more. The cracks get more and more as the spiderweb flows through it.
I mean, they should have, if they're really going to be clever about this, introduce how many factions do we have? 3, 4?
4.
Okay. Introduce a 5th faction that's actually keeping everybody at bay.
Children of Adam.
So
right.
Yeah, all right, whatever. But
or whoever it may be. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, have a reason. Have a reason that these people aren't getting together and aren't talking and
yes, agreed.
And then you could plot. The reason it's called plot.
Yeah, plot armor, if you will. Yeah. Like, they have to keep it going, and so therefore, like, those options just literally do not exist as choices.
But the thing is, even if you have a fifth group, then you can do something with that. Like, say, hey, if you're going to side with this group, which of the other 4 groups would best help, depending on how you want to play your game?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, all right, and think about this, right? A lot of the backstory of Fallout is like, okay, we've lost technology. Like, again, the Brotherhood of Steel backstory is we have to preserve what technology survives from, like, pre-war and what we can still, like, basically cobble together, right? Yeah. The Institute, if you guys remember this, you can go to the Institute and you can watch synths being created. And, like, if it's in real time, they're literally being created, like, minute by minute. Like, they're just generating synths over and over and over. If they have that power, then they should, like, they're there is no struggle. They're going to win.
Or at least had skinny Malone behind the scenes and everything.
Maybe, I
causing,
guess.
we're going to have a Brotherhood of Steel and the CIT.
Sure.
To have a meeting, like a peace meeting, and then I could sabotage. Make it actually engaging
have
and
it be
dramatic.
intriguing.
What would have been amazing is if the Brotherhood of Steel had somebody in the Institute and like sneaking out a couple synths every once in a while, like you know. And so the Brotherhood has the whole.
Well, the Railroad kind of had that. If you follow their quest line,
Yeah,
there was an inside
That's true.
agent, but like,
I did
but
follow
you're
their
right.
quest line.
But it was still kind of flat in that sense. It wasn't as interesting as what
right,
what
it
you're
could
saying.
it could have been great.
Are we suggesting they make Fallout Departed?
Yeah, that would be amazing. I'd play that fucking game. Sure,
But,
it'd be more interesting.
Everybody dies.
but I think we're pointing out
Spoiler on
in
Departed.
just like a few minutes that like there were so many other possibilities of how they could have taken what they already had, add one little thing, or use what they had more effectively. And it's basically, again, like playing to like the LCD.
They
Absolutely.
failed to capitalize on a lot of like possible opportunities that like we as like students of narrative could see. Like there was the possibility there's the opportunity, but they just didn't do it.
They had to spend all their time on making settlements, which is
I guess, but
my
why?
actual. I just want to make this narrative aspect of settlements. I made in my first run a amazing sanctuary.
Yep.
I had lit streets. Everyone had a roof over their head, a fancy bed lighting.
You're
in their
basically
house,
building New Vegas
jukeboxes
in the
everywhere.
disco.
Oh, it's amazing! Yeah, I had a ghoul just with a pompadour, a white suit, sunglasses, and a disco.
Man. Sure.
Oh, amazing! Discoteca. And everyone still bitched and moaned constantly.
Yes. Right. It's little narrative dissonance.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
and they're like, you don't know what it's like until you've worked all day. And I'm like, motherfucker, I've like, you know.
Who the fuck you think built this town, bitch? Is what you're thinking to yourself as a player, right? Like, exactly.
I mean, that's the other flaw is like, as you build things, you
Poured
should
my
get
heart
more
and soul.
positive reactions from the
Sure,
people.
but it's few and far. It's like diminishing returns, I guess I want to say. And like, yeah, like I don't really, because I can talk for an hour about how I dislike the settlement system, but I understand why they had it. And yeah, it was a cool idea, but that isn't what I come to Fallout for, as I've said on previous episodes. But again, still, my biggest gripe is, you're right, Steve-O. You're fucking railroaded into choices that,
Railroad?
yeah, you could be railroaded into the railroad. Yeah, kind of. And that's what I resented about it. There was no yes man option, I guess I want to call it, right? There was nothing like that.
There's no character in any
There's no
of these
faction
factions.
little thing, yeah.
There's no character in any of these factions that has an open mind about anything outside of their faction.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
Which is
You're
really
right.
annoying.
It's like there's not a Venn diagram, but it's like, Railroad says, fuck the Institute. Institute says, fuck the Railroad and the Brothers Steel. But the Steel says, fuck the Institute, but Railroad is okay, and Min is like, I guess we're here to do whatever.
We got fancy clothes.
Yeah, I'll
So-
mark it on your map if we're gonna do something.
There's two aspects I do want to talk about that I like.
Okay.
One is that Bethesda does secondary quests very well.
Of course, yeah.
Probably because it's a single person developing it.
Before you
and
go on,
writing
just
it.
let me make one statement. Think about this. If they completely got rid of the main plot and Fallout 4 consisted of just doing the side quests,
Oh, absolutely.
wouldn't that be a
Yeah.
better game? Okay.
See, like with that, because I like building the settlements, but if the whole thing was just to unify the Commonwealth, I could go with that too.
That would have been more
Probably.
New Vegas
Yeah, better, yeah.
Yeah.
than
Go on,
a. But I also like is that they do develop interesting characters.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw out one here.
Yeah.
I love Mama
Pick your
Murphy.
favorite side quest.
Mama
Murphy is a good character,
is
I agree.
amazing. I actually got her off of drugs
Yep.
because
Me
I pushed
too.
her until I felt like you
Me
could
too.
tell her deteriorating.
I gave her like 3 sites or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I gave her 3 things and I was like, maybe you should back off now.
Yeah. You
And-
can give her so much that she dies. By
I
the way.
imagine so.
Yep.
But I
Sure.
literally-
And that's more interesting choice than choosing between the main factions. All right, here's one of my favorite ones. The House of Cabot, I believe, or Cabot House.
Oh,
It was one of my favorite ones. It was just cool. It was, again, somewhat almost Lovecraftian. Like, I don't mean to misuse that term, but it was just really cool. Like, yeah, we're in like a weird like magical bubble, and my ancestor apparently has a magical artifact that you have to keep him in a little glass house or whatever. Like, yeah, that was so interesting.
That was that. Now I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
was
you're right.
quite
And
good.
I agree with you when you brought it up earlier, Steve-O. The robot ship one was so much fun, and it was
Chris
really
brought that
it
one
was
up.
really cool to see. Yeah.
that one was amazing. I really loved Codsworth as like a secondary character. He's
Codsworth's
like your
awesome.
first.
He was
companion.
more, yeah.
He's
Nick
so
Valentine's great.
Yeah.
Valentine was
Valentine's
awesome. Yeah, and we all love noir kind of things
Strong.
here.
Yes.
And he was like the noir character.
Speaking of strong, you had the guy trying to teach Shakespeare to
yes.
super mutants.
That was
brilliant.
the side quest too. Yeah,
Like Bethesda does that very, very
but see,
well.
that's,
always
that's
does.
the weird thing about it. Those were so good. Why wasn't the main quest as quality? I don't understand what went wrong.
Ian's right. One of the two of you were talking
we're all
about.
both right.
Yeah. No,
Go
but
on.
if their strength lines, if your strength lies, and this is a common thing about like lesser games, in the side missions, then embrace that. Yeah. Unify the Commonwealth. So you have a reason to buddy up to each faction, and just you can make a meal out of all these side quests and not worry about the main quest.
Agreed. So, all right, I'll say this: the way to get to the railroad was cool. Like figuring out the Freedom Trail.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. But then, I was like, eh. After I met you, I was like, hey, guys are lame.
But the thing is, if you were also trying to rebuild the Commonwealth and unify all these people and with the side quests, it would make, I think, building the settlements
would make a lot more sense than anything else.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, I'll just bring up one other thing real quickly. It wasn't even a side quest. It was unmarked, not even a miscellaneous quest, which is another tier below that. You could go to an old art gallery. I don't know if you guys did this.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was so cool. And it was huge. It was all decrepit, and there were dead raiders everywhere, in weird formations, artistic serial killer formations. And eventually, if you made your way down to the basement, a bunch of raiders were confronting a serial killer that they figured out was hunting them. You could save him, and he was like, "Thanks for saving me. Let me give you my knife, my serial killing knife." He was awesome. That's one of the coolest things. Probably better than any main quest that I encountered.
I want to bring up two very nerdy things from previous podcasts. One, this reminds me quite a bit of J.J. Abrams' Magic Box.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. And
mystery box.
I can see that, yes. Go on.
Although I would like to see it.
What's the difference?
What's in J.J. Abrams' Magic Box?
It also brings me up to what Bart said about the idea of the epic journey versus the dramatic journey, which is the dramatic journey is all about the ending. It's about the destination. It's about solving, in a sense, the mystery.
Sure.
The epic journey is about the journey. The destination is just kind of a MacGuffin.
It's just there. Yeah, exactly. That's well said.
I guess my sensibilities nowadays for video games are for dramatic journeys, and Fallout 4 is not a dramatic; it's an epic journey. And Sean is.
They want it to be one, but
Sean is a good MacGuffin for bringing you on this great journey. And the idea is that what you don't remember is the nitty gritty of the plots necessarily, but the interesting people you met along the way.
Yeah.
When you read
100%.
the Odyssey, you're not saying, "Well, that doesn't make sense. They got lost for 10 years," and no, you're talking about the Cyclops.
They're an island of sirens. Yeah, no, that's really funny. It's not funny per se, but it's a really good analogy. Yeah. I think it applies here for sure because you're right. That is the interesting part of it, and that's what I think the kernel of fun is to be found there versus just keep going on the main plot. But no, that the main plot is flat and boring. What's interesting is all the side things that surround it.
Oh my god, the Silver Shroud.
Yeah,
those were
exactly
awesome.
Silver Shroud.
Good
amazing.
call, Chris. You're right. That was one of the best ones as well. That's perfect Fallout lore. It makes sense, and it was so much fun to do, and it was funny as well, and it's very well written.
Yeah, it was it was noir. It was it was the shadow. It's
that's the thing.
Finding all of his clothes.
You could completely miss that side quest, but if you did, you're missing an amazing little story that was more interesting by far than a lot of the main quests were, as I said.
Yeah. The what was the ghoul at Good Neighbor who was the
Hancock.
mayor? Yeah.
Yep.
He was awesome.
He was a great character as well. You could have him as a companion as well. Yeah. You're right. So it's really bizarre that for all the hype that this game had, yes, it was a good game and a fun game to play, but I was somewhat disappointed by it. There were parts of it that I thought would be better, I guess I want to say.
Yeah.
And specifically, the main quest. Whereas, yes, they could completely excise the main quest and just throw you into a world. Here's Boston, wander around, make some robots fly into a building, hunt some death claw, go into the witchcraft house.
Yeah.
Go to Salem.
Now that I'm thinking about it, Chris, what you were saying before, if you make the main point of this game, if you make the main plot of this game
to build enough settlements
to make the Commonwealth, to unite the Commonwealth
stable,
then making all those settlements makes way more sense.
Yeah, it's not just
having that as part of the game makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it's not. You're right. exactly. You guys are both right. It's not just busy work anymore. It's like a main quest, essentially, more or less, which is more meaningful than, than the Sean quest, I guess.
But I was going to say one advantage of this is, like, all right, I didn't finish Batman last year, and if I go back and play it, I'm going to...
Arkham Knight, don't worry about it. You don't have to finish it.
Because if I went back and finished it, I'd have to start over again. This game, the main plot's so simple, and all the side plots are interesting, that, like, I put it down for, like, 3 months, and then when the new DLCs came out, that's when I started playing it again. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm looking for my son. Okay. I mean, I don't really have, it's just like, here's my settlements. I mean, it is a great, be able to drop and come back a couple months and play for a little while.
Sure, I guess it lends itself to that kind of thing. And
but you could still do that with uniting the Commonwealth
maybe
thing.
That's convenient, but so, like, I don't want to speak about it at length because we're not going to count it as in the main game, but Far Harbor, I'll just say real quickly, and Chris and I agree on this, that's what the main plot should have been. How come they didn't do that in the main plot? I don't know.
Because one of the things about one of the options in Far Harbor
We're still saying
is
spoilers?
that's true.
He is.
There's 3 factions there, and there's any combinations.
It's the same fucking setup, but it's so much more interesting.
But they give you the options that they don't give you in this game.
Exactly. So, like, how come? What the fuck went wrong?
Obviously, you knew you could do this. When did it never occur to you to do that?
That's all I want to say about that. But yeah, like, you're right. As much fun as it was in general, again, like, mechanically, it was amazing. They improved in every way.
Well, except for the human, they really have to do the
talking about
the human faces, like I
think they're realistic enough.
The body animation has still got to come up a little way.
It was fine. Like the dialogue tree was a step back. I didn't like that. Like, I didn't like the way they did it. It was
the most annoying thing was, like,
it was neutered, if you will.
Yeah.
But, like, what was driving me nuts was, like, at the Institute there'd be a dialogue tree for a couple different options. You pick one of the options, and then the person walks away, and you got to talk to him again. It was really
you're right. Like that's also, I guess, sort of mechanic. Like Bethesda bugginess, I guess, if you will. Not even bugginess per se, but I did notice that the NPCs would behave as such. Sure, but it was still like, again, like neutered, I guess, is the best phrase I want to say here. I was saying the precast that because it was a dialogue tree, like a cross tree, if you will, like a BioWare style, right?
Yeah.
You weren't exactly sure what your character was going to say because it was like paraphrased.
Yeah.
So eventually somebody did a mod where, like, you could see it like where you act like old school Fallout games. You could pick what line you're going to say and you know exactly what it's going to be.
So I want to completely derail this
because you're the silent protagonist.
No, but you weren't silent in this one, of course. Oh, God.
So when I felt that a synth infiltrated my town, I would ring the bell and gather up all my civilians there.
And have a firing squad?
Shoot them all in the head. Search their bodies for who had synth parts.
That's amazing.
And then reload, and then bring that person out of town and kill them.
See, that's really funny. No, that's some amazing.
Awesome.
No, that's some amazing saves coming. And you're right. Like, to bring up one point, that was really cool. Like, synth could infiltrate your settlements. That was a cool little thing that it introduced. It's almost a hidden thing. Like, you wouldn't really know that. Like,
if settlements mattered more, that would have been way more interesting.
Yes, agreed. Of course, Steve-O.
You know, I'm OCD when it comes to games.
So yeah, like, I actually didn't know that until like either you told me or I looked it up. Like, that's a nice cool detail. If I gave a shit at all about settlements, maybe I would look for synths more.
No, yeah, I need to have the best thing left on Earth.
You know what's great? Having 100 fucking settlements, that or however many you could get. I think there's like 30 of them.
Actually, if they just had one. If they had one settlement
that you were invested in,
you really
right?
had to build the shit out of. Yeah,
that would have made something.
Yeah, if Sanctuary Hills was the one and only, that would have made you care so much more about it, right? But no, I'm gonna go build shit in Spectacle Island or whatever.
If they had like if they had like 3 or 4 or whatever, that'd be fine. But they have like 10.
Fine. Even if
some
way more than 10.
Yeah. No, but some arbitrary number less than what they had.
They had one main one.
Yes.
And then the other ones were like, all right, this is a much easier, like simpler little interface for. But you literally had to, if you wanted to build up all your settlements, you had to spend countless hours building all. I did the bare minimum on all my settlements except for Sanctuary.
Agreed.
And I still spent a ton of time.
We spoke about this on our opening episode for this season. Like, yeah, that's kind of what I resented. If I wanted to play fucking Minecraft Fallout style, I would just get a Minecraft or a Fallout mod for Minecraft.
I'm going to give a really random reference here. Breath of Fire 2. Have any of you played that game?
Yes, I mentioned this. I played it. I never owned it, but I played it like mostly through, not all the way.
You ended up getting a town that you could develop in that game. I believe it gave you 9 houses that you could go around the world.
Or areas or something.
No, like it's 9 houses like in the town. And you can go to all of the...
But you could choose what
there's
becomes.
there would be like 4 or 5 different people who could take that one, like house one,
that's what I'm getting
and so on and so forth. So you could choose and like get different people coming in for one has a store, one has a bar, one has a dojo, like all that, and they would give you different perks for it. But yeah, it wasn't a lot of work, and you can choose like 3 different templates for your town as well. But again, it's a very simple interface for doing it, but very rewarding for seeing your town develop. And yeah, it's not complex. Yeah, you can't customize as much, but this isn't Minecraft. This is Fallout. This is supposed to be, you can upgrade that mentality, but without having it being paralyzing with the number of options.
Agreed. And like, I'll bring this somewhat tied in and bring it back up. The season pass thing, the DLCs they put out for Fallout 4 so far were one minor-ish story plot, Automaton, Far Harbor. The other 3 were like just, basically, we brought this point up before. They might as well have been mods for building shit. Like, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's pointless, but, what's the difference? I want to see more story. I want to see new characters. I want to have new area, etc.
But that's the whole thing.
I don't want to build the fucking Rube Goldberg machine in Fallout, because...
But I mean, the thing is, if they made that like, hey, you got to set up the settlements, and they need the basics.
Agreed.
And because the thing is, I enjoy building settlements because I always liked that about like when I played SimCity. But of course, I always got bored because nothing else happened. Sure. So like, this is a perfect opportunity for that. However, if like someone like you doesn't really care about it, don't force it, like the Batmobile. Don't force it down your throat.
Certainly, there must be a middle ground in which. Yeah, and I agree with you guys. The more I think about it, I think somebody at Bethesda should have been like, "Hey, guys, I have an idea. Let's have just 5 settlements, but you got to build them up like it's tied into the main plot.
Yeah.
Right? So now you're invested and you don't like it's not overwhelming. Like, oh, X is getting attacked. Fuck them. I don't care.
Exactly.
I'm not going to go back and defend them.
But the thing is, they should also give you like a choice. It's like if you want to build settlements, it's like, hey, have like an option.
Even if they don't give you a choice, like I don't want to. No, I'm just saying.
That like if you wanted to build more settlements, make that the mod that they release as a DLC.
Now that we're talking about this more, there absolutely should have been a quest, like an actual quest, probably multi-part for every settlement that you did.
Yeah, and
like when you do 40 settlements, that's why you can't.
Just real quickly, in Far Harbor, there was that. It made so much more sense.
There you go.
Exactly. See.
And like,
but I agree with that.
There were like 2 settlements that actually had a quest. There was the castle and sanctuary.
There was one other one too. There was like, all right, just real quickly, it's kind of random. If you guys remember, there was I don't know what the name of it was, but when you try to get into it, they gave you the goat tests from Fallout 3.
Oh,
you had to answer a bunch of questions and stuff to get in. They're like, if your grandmother dies, what do you do? Like, but
was it a vault?
If your grandmother hands you a gun and tells you to kill another vault member, what do you do?
Yeah, it was like a test of that.
Oh my god, what was that?
I can't remember the name of the town. It's escaping me right now. But there was a side quest. There was a side quest tied to it in which they were like smuggling synths like away. So you could decide like the town did not want the synths to be smuggled, and some guy was like an NPC would join you, and you could like choose to side with him or with the town. I ended up wiping out the whole town, and it becomes a settlement. Like regardless of what you do, you have that town as a settlement. If they're alive, then you can build there. If they're dead, then you can build there anyways. But you get to have it as a settlement, but it's tied to a quest, right? Yeah. You have to do something in order to unlock it either way.
Right.
Or you have 10 Pines Bluff, which is just getting wrecked constantly.
Over and over again. Yeah. Or Abernathy Farm is the one that...
Oh, yeah, they kidnaps.
And you never this was a one-off quest for Preston Garvey, who I didn't give a shit about them until he was like, hey, there's a settlement over there. Go check it out.
Yeah, after a while, once I started getting enough caps and it's like another kidnapping, you gotta go over there just like, here,
sure, again, it becomes like,
hey, go
it's
kill
like,
these...
who cares?
Yeah, go kill these ghouls and then we'll be on your side.
It's almost like Lunar Dissonance, but like, again, so because, we're bringing this up real quickly, because there's no level cap, right? They have to have a way for you to like, just like grind out XP over and over. And the Preston Garvey quests are like one of the easiest ways to do that. But then, it becomes disconnected from the main plot. Because the same settlement is getting kidnapped, the same person, over and over again, like infinitely. It's a Radiant quest. For
eventually,
Skyrim.
they're asking to be kidnapped.
Yeah, I guess. But it creates divide in your mind of your character. Like it breaks your RP at the end of the day, and that's what I disliked about it. It was fine overall. I had a good time with the game, but narratively, it just was a bit of a step down. It did not live up to the hype at all in that sense. It wasn't a fucking Morrowind. It wasn't even a Skyrim, if you will. It definitely was not Fallout Vegas.
It might have been an Oblivion, though.
You know what? I'll give you Oblivion. It somewhat was Oblivion. And sure, that's fine, I suppose. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, it was still a great game, and sure, I sunk 100+ hours into it. But those 100+ hours are mostly doing side quests, or again being Captain Willard, just backstabbing things because it was fun, and when I had zero investment in the plot anymore. Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do next. It's going to probably take another 10 years to the next Fallout game. They're definitely doing the next Elder Scrolls as our
maybe they'll give it back to Black Isle for 4.5.
That would be excellent. I would.
It's going to be
should
elsewhere the farming sim.
Yeah, great. So I can grow different kinds of cats.
The thing is, it'd be great if they got who did Vegas again?
Black Isle.
Or
Obsidian.
Because do the Assassin's Creed thing with the ships. It's like, oh, Far Harbor is so popular.
Yeah.
Let's do a whole game that's kind of this Lovecraftian horror post-apocalyptic thing.
And Skyrim.
Embrace that.
I've been saying that's in Skyrim. The second DLC of Skyrim, just real quickly if you remember, was basically you go to a Lovecraft world. It's one of the Daedric worlds that you go to. It looks like a fucking twisted Lovecraft world. That's the best way to describe it. It was awesome. Yeah, if they ship it out, Bethesda can certainly publish it. That's fine. But maybe you let somebody else develop it.
Yeah.
For the next time. I don't know, dudes.
I don't know.
Yeah. If they can work pirate ships into it, great.
Yeah, sure, exactly. You're right. That's it. That's pretty funny. The Assassin's Creed thing is pretty good. I like that. We'll see where it goes. But I guess just for now, our wrapping up thoughts is just that.
Yeah.
It was a good game. We all spent a lot of hours with it.
Yeah.
Ian was forced to replay it a couple of times. We all went through it, and I did, I created a save, a branch save, if you will, at the end, so I could do all the endings. But it was moot.
Yeah,
it didn't really matter.
It was a B-level game, is what I'd say. It's just it was a good game. It was fine. It wasn't bad at all. I like it. I do. It just was good.
Exactly. Yeah. It was fine at best, but I just hope they improve. I've seen many forum complaints, if you will. I troll forums a lot, and I've seen many complaints about Fallout 4. Basically, we just reiterated what the complaints were. I hope they take that into account, and if whenever they get around to doing X1, they improve it based on these notes, if you will.
I mean, it's kind of I'm sure it's not an easy fix, but it's the obvious fix. I think
it's
the way
well said.
to writing a good story is hard, and a lot of good writers even fail at it.
Yeah,
but
no problem.
At the same time, you putting out something like this.
But a game like this,
I feel like,
sells itself on its story, ostensibly.
I feel like as they were getting into writing this main quest, they should have realized that it wasn't working. It's just something that, and maybe not, because if you look at this, if you write this story and you read it, and you played it front to back
to front,
maybe it's a good story in a linear model.
Fashion, but nobody plays it like that.
Yeah, but when you have the option of going off and doing side quests, it makes no sense.
Yeah, this is going to sound harsh, however. You should fire your main writers, and whoever writes the side quests, have them write the main quest.
There you go.
Good to go.
I guarantee the main writers also do a bunch of the side quests. That's why I was joking.
And then hire us to do the side quests.
Yes.
There you go. That's
even
better. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that'll do it. I think we'll finally creep out of the Commonwealth and go back to reality. So, for Syntax Error, I believe this is possibly our last episode of the season.
I think so.
If not, I'm going to do a bonus episode, but either way, I'm Scott Thurlow. I'll see you next season.
I'm Steve-O, and I'll see you later.
I'm Chris Morgan. Good night.
And I'm Jonathan Ian Manson. I want my own Codsworth.
Very good, sir. This has been Syntax Error. Thank you as always for listening, and we will see you next time.
Music by Stephen Ormosi. Editing and engineering by Scott Thurlow.
Syntax Error is part of a Lost Signals Productions. All rights reserved.